Well, hello everybody. Welcome to LOL starring Chris Smith, the best comedy show on Not to Be Radio. Why is that? It's because it's the only comedy show on Not to Be Radio. How are you, everybody? Guys, we have a special guest, and it is so important that we start at 6. I didn't even think about that until I did it, which is like, okay, we're doing that because we have a very special guest. He is the writer and creator of one of the most listened to fiction podcasts out there right now. Literally, BBC, The Guardian, Apple Podcasts, everybody has reviewed this show as one of the podcasts everyone should fall in love to, one of the most scientifically accurate science fiction podcasts to listen to. This is literally the ones where people say this is as rich as an actual novel to listen to. I'm here with the lovely creator, Mr. Joe Fisher of Midnight Burger. Hello there, Joe.
Hello. How are you? It's great to be here.
I am good. You're calling you from the lovely of LA all the way over there to have some fun. Hope you're not too tired.
Not too tired at all. No, it's only it's 10 a.m. here. I've been up for hours.
Oh god, yeah, that's fine. Guys, if you want to, there was this. You will listen to us live here as well. There's the you will be able to listen to us also on Instagram right now. Instagram at Love the Boo Radio, but also you can. Yeah, this will be on video on YouTube later in the week. We'll find out date when. But so let's just get things started with well, let's just get to it. So how Midnight Burger started. So you started it in the midst of the pandemic, right, a few years ago, right? So tell us more about
that.
How did this idea come to be?
Well, it was during the pandemic, and during the pandemic, I was already gardening and already baking bread, so I had to do the third thing that everybody did during the pandemic, which was start a podcast. So what happened was that I was the pandemic played into my misanthropy a little too much, and so I decided to try and combat that by reaching out to old friends and putting a project together. And so I said, we had never really done audio drama before, but I had seen people doing it and I had enjoyed it, and so I reached out to some friends of mine who were actors, and I knew that they weren't doing anything because it was the pandemic, and I said, let's do this thing, and they I guess they trusted me enough to just kind of say okay sight unseen. And so we started doing Midnight Burger during the pandemic just to sort of have a project and to pass the time and to like not look at the news for a minute. And it was great. And we had a wonderful time doing it. And then an unexpected thing happened, which was people started actually listening to it and showing up, and, people started, talking about it online and things like that. And then towards the end of the first season, there was an article that came out in The Guardian saying, like, these are the 20 essential indie podcasts to be listening to right now. And we were one of them. And so it was at that point that I decided to just let it completely destroy my life and really like lean into it. And that's when we started doing more and more stuff. And we, set up a Patreon and we got advertisers and things like that. So yeah, it all started just as a way to, make it through a difficult time, and it's transformed into what it is now, which has been, it's been really a kind of a strangely magical experience.
Well, it's one I think people do. If they do, they don't know. You are a screenwriter. You're a pro. You do have you do have a long career of actually writing shows.
I was So I was a screenwriter for several years here in LA. Screenwriting. Like right when the pandemic hit, screenwriting as a screenwriter, I was very unhappy. The screenwriting is the kind of thing where you can do it and be successful at it, and it can be lucrative, and you can still be miserably unhappy doing it, depending on your personality, and if you actually can find some way of finding some sort of symbiosis with the business. And so I was really frustrated as a screenwriter. Finding this new way of telling a story dramatically was kind of a revelation for me, but I started way back as a playwright, and then eventually got a Hollywood gig, which brought me to LA, and I did that for several years. And then when I was, and we started doing Midnight Burger right when I was really, really kind of fed up with it. With that sort of form of really just the entire sort of ecosphere of Hollywood is just something that I really didn't understand. And the more I started to understand it, the more frustrated I got with it. I have a lot of friends who were very happy doing it. I just wasn't one of those people.
why the push then to do audio? Was I mean, like you said, you hadn't done before. Why sort of dive into that area?
I don't know what it was. I think, I had always really loved I'd always really loved radio, and I would always listen to, I'd listened to public radio since I was a little kid, and there was radio stations changed my life when I was young. When I was young, I had first because I grew up here in Los Angeles as well, and I remember coming to Los Angeles, and I had a tiny clock radio, and that's really all I had. That's the only music that I had in my life, and I remember turning on the radio and hearing alternative music for the first time in my life. I'd never heard anything like that before. And it
Oh God.
became, it became the soundtrack of my life, and it was, I've always loved audio and I've always loved radio. It's just not the world that I lived in, because there was, you know, when I had first started writing, audio drama really wasn't a thing. And, radio plays were kind of a thing of the past, at least in America. And so it's something that you don't think about doing. But at this particular point in my life during the pandemic, it had become a thing again. And so there was this opportunity to take sort of the fact that, I have always really loved audio and radio and I always also love, telling stories dramatically, like with dialogue and with character. And so being able to combine those two things was really great for me.
No, I absolutely love that because I mean, we should actually because we've got at least 5 to 10 minutes into the show. We should actually at least let people know what Midnight Burger actually is. Which
Sure. Yeah. By the way,
yeah, by the way, this big show that we're talking about. Here's the deal. So it is basically, and it's the weirdest thing where I was like, I've told to friends, but like, oh, hey, I'm also listening to Midnight Burger, and then they ask the same question, like, oh, what's it about? And I'm just like, oh, okay, well, this is a
yeah,
tough one, so
yeah,
I'll actually let you.
it is a problem.
It is a
It's
tough
a,
because
I mean, like if I'm, like I have 10 seconds in the elevator, I guess what I say to people is it's the adventures of a time traveling dimension spanning diner.
yes, it's almost like you went, so Doctor Who has this thing. Can we make it something else? Can we make it a diner? It's just like, sure. Can we also cross dimensions? Sure. So it is basically like the story of a group of people who travel around in a dimension hopping, time traveling diner, going to
Yeah.
all weird sorts of places to find adventures and whatnot in the most absurd way possible. It's absolutely insane. Joe, what on earth is in your head that you came up with that idea?
I don't really, I don't really know. I don't really know. There is a sort of, I mean, with diners, like, because I live in, the American Southwest, right? And in the American Southwest, that is kind of there's all of these small isolated parts in the desert that used to be popular little towns, and then they've fallen into disrepair. And they left behind a lot of these kind of mid-century modern diners, right, all along Route 66. But all of them are in these very liminal spaces now because the towns have dried up. Um, and so you have all throughout the Southwest these kind of ghostly diners, just sometimes out in the middle of nowhere. And so they do kind of imbue kind of a magical quality to like a diner, because it does kind of feel like something that just kind of emerged from out of nowhere. Suddenly there's this diner. And I guess that's where the idea kind of started.
No, because I do love it. Because yeah, you're right. It does sort of scream like of all the if there's anything weird or magical that can happen, it can happen always in a small town in a diner where there just happens to pop up.
Right.
I mean, because I was going to
Right.
ask,
Yeah.
like, was there any? Do you have like any fond memories of a diner? Was there any particular favorite you ever went to when you were younger?
Let's see. I'm trying to think of one in particular. But the thing is, you can kind of have the same experience anyone you go into. It's almost like it's a McDonald's, but it's like, you walk into a McDonald's, you know what to expect. But if you walk into one of these diners, you do kind of know what to expect. You know that there's going to be booths, you know that there's going to be, you can pretty much predict what's going to be on the menu. There'll probably be a jukebox in disrepair somewhere. The staff will be well-meaning, but maybe not great at their job. Um, so I can't think of one in particular, no, but but all of them do kind of blend together for me, in a certain
Because I
sense.
imagine that's a question a lot of fans put up to is why specifically a diner? You had almost any idea to go with it. You went with a
Right. Yeah, I mean, there's, if you ever travel through that area of America, you'll see a lot of them, and they are kind of inspiring somehow. There is a sort of wonder to them.
No, I love that. But it's also to note that Midnight Burger was not the first project that you all did together, because the first main little project you did, because I listened to, was Omega Station.
Right. So the first thing we did was just like a three-part miniseries called Omega Station,
Yeah.
and that was just kind of the
Was that like
trying
testing
it
the
out.
waters or something?
It was testing the waters. It was seeing if we liked doing it. It was seeing if it was frustrating to work in a form that some find to be limiting. But so we did a three-part miniseries called Omega Station, and and I really loved it. And the understanding was, let's do this three-part miniseries, and by then the pandemic will be over and we can move on with our lives. And of course, it did not go that way at all. And I wanted to keep going, and I wanted to keep going in a way that had a little more room to expand the story more and more. And
Well, no, yeah, because Omega Station's a bit more of a. I was gonna say it's a little bit more drama-esque, really, than compared to Midnight Burger. Midnight Burger is
yeah,
essentially a comedy, whereas Omega Station is like. Yeah, seriously, things. Was there a bit of a shit to like? Oh god, I need to make this funny, otherwise I'll lose my mind. Oh, it's just like that was just its own set.
no, well, I think Omega Station was like where all of our heads at were at the time, because I think Omega Station was right when we didn't know if there was going to be a vaccine. We didn't know anything at that point. And so it was a lot of um, that agita that comes from that. So I think it was drawn from that. And then after that, though, going into Midnight Burger, it was about trying to imagine a safe place and trying to talk about the idea of fortitude and, moving on and moving forward. Because that's where I wanted to go. That wasn't how I was feeling currently. That was the direction I wanted to go in, sort of emotionally. So that's why moving on to a different form like that, I think was probably a good choice.
Well, I mean, one thing that links both Omega Station and Midnight Burger is that not only did you do an audio drama, you did a sci-fi audio drama, which
Right.
if anybody has listened to any audio podcast, doing them is tricky. Science fiction is a lot of visual stuff. It is a lot of
Yeah.
seeing space and things. I mean, how challenging was it to be in either of those projects going through to be like, okay, there's this big spaceship going through. Wait, how do we make it sound like a spaceship is going through? Like, what do we do here? Like, how challenging is it to sort of get that into it?
I don't think it is that challenging. I mean, I think that science fiction should be about ideas. And I was kind of raised by the crew of the Enterprise D, and and I think that like Next Generation, Star Trek Next Generation couldn't have a lot of visuals because they couldn't afford a lot of visuals sometimes.
Yeah.
And there were some episodes that were very character driven. They were very much about the characters talking to each other. And I think that's when the show was at its best. And I think that, the thing about science fiction these days is that what I think we've turned it into is a lot of pew pew laser guns, right? It's a lot of spectacle, it's a lot of fight scenes, it's a lot of, I have to avenge my father, it's a lot of stuff like that. And it's not really about like big ideas. It's not about what we mean to each other, it's not about what the universe means to us, what we mean to the universe. It's not about the big ideas that science fiction can talk about, because in the end, people don't think that that will sell. And maybe they're right. I don't know. But in my opinion, science fiction is best when it's about very big ideas and talking about those big ideas. And I think that science fiction actually really flies when it's just about smart people talking in space. And
No, I love that. I
you
love that
can't
because
really,
you did sort of put out to a point. I mean, speaking as someone who's a Voyager fan growing up,
right,
that was my Star Trek.
right.
Like
Um,
I understand like how much, because I was going to ask what was your inspirations, but it does seem like Star Trek was a big one for you, especially considering how well a lot of it is talking science, which a lot of Next Gen
Right.
was.
Right.
But
And I think, and I really love that. And you can't really do that in TV and film anymore, But in audio drama you can, because audio drama is it's dialogue driven, it's character driven, and by the nature of the form, you can't do a lot of spectacle.
mm,
Which means it means it has to be idea driven, it has to be character driven and dialogue driven.
I mean, has there been in the 4 seasons that you have you had has there been something where it has been a bit of a challenge to sort of emphasize what this is to the listeners?
In what sense? Like in how
Trying
do you mean?
has there been something that's been really hard to describe to the listeners what this is supposed to be, compared to, because
Uh,
it's in your head, you know what it is, but it's like trying to tell people it's actually this, but it's this, but it's this, and they're just like, wait, what?
I think there was one particular episode called Pockets that was very like there was a lot of visual elements to it. Pockets was an episode where there's a character named Leif on the show who
Yep.
is a brilliant engineer. And in that particular season, in season three, they were dealing with this person named Clementine. Clementine, who is kind of
Yes.
an out of control space goddess, right? And
Yeah.
there's this one episode where they need to keep Clementine contained for a while. And how can
Oh
they
yes,
do that?
I was trying to remember what this. Yes, I know what this is. Yeah.
And so this is essentially, and so the episode was essentially Leif kind of going to war with this out of
With
control
this
space
goddess.
goddess,
Yeah.
right? With only the technology that he has available to him. And there was a lot of things like he deploys a gigantic particle cannon on the roof of the diner and blasts her
Yes.
with it. There's a force field over the diner. There's a point where he completely freezes her in a block of ice. There was a lot of stuff like that happening. And so I was worried that it was just going to be an explosion of sound and people weren't going to know what was going on. But what I was able to do, what helped with that though, was I have just God, describing this show makes me sound like a crazy person. But
No, you're
there's
perfectly doing fine.
there are characters named Effie and Zebulon Mucklewain who live inside an old-timey radio, right? And they transform into different people sometimes. And
Yeah.
in that episode, they transformed into sportscasters calling the
Commentators.
plays. And with them doing that, it was they kind of could take the audience by the hand and lead them through what was going on,
Well, not
right?
just that, but also because I remember that episode. It's also where you have the news crew to stumble
Yes,
upon on it, who are also variations of them.
right. And commenting on it. And so what you had is you had two layers of people commenting on the action that was going on. So that means that you could have big audio moments of this war between Leif and Clementine. But when you add those two layers of commentary on it, I think that really fleshes out the picture for people, you know?
Yeah. Well, we dived into them a little bit, so let's get into it. So the characters who are absolutely fantastic: Casper, Ava, Leaf, Gloria, a bumbling bunch of people who in the fairness of sense, I've always felt like it's a little bit like always sunny in Philadelphia, since like at least with not with Gloria, but the other three, they're not the most likable people in the in the world when you first meet
Right.
them and interact with them, but you sort
Yeah.
of have to put up with them because they're the cast. It's just like, oh, you slowly get to like them and such. But like,
Yeah. I mean, if everyone was nice to each other all the time on the show, I don't think there would be much to do. It's not really that interesting because they are kind of rough on each other, and they do have some of them have personalities that are an acquired taste, one might say.
it's yeah, you're being a nice person. It's like any one of them individually suck. They do kind of
Right,
suck because
right.
yeah,
But when
but
you
like,
put them together, you know what I mean? Like no one wants to eat cinnamon, but when you take cinnamon and you put it in various things, it's great, you
yes,
know?
it's always delicious. Yeah, I mean because yeah, I mean we got the great cast. I mean Casper, which is played by you, of course. If anybody hasn't listened to the
Yes.
show, wondered that. Did you intend to put yourself in this, or was it like was just an accidental thing?
I think it was just these were the people that we had, and we needed another actor, so I figured I would do it. Also, like in the first season, it felt like there needed to be someone who was kind of the jerk. And I didn't feel comfortable making someone else the jerk, so I figure, why don't I'll play the jerk this season, and
I
because
mean,
I would feel bad giving that to someone else, you know.
I do always feel bad just because like Casper is always like in the, at least in the first season he is the joke, but it's also he's the butt of the joke.
Yeah, he
Somehow
always is the butt of the joke. Yeah.
I
And
just feel
I
like
would feel bad doing that to someone else, you know. So it's great that it's Casper and it's me because I'm fine, you know.
I know, but I just keep thinking like if they're a bad episode, I mean, because there are some episodes where they're like they really go hard on Casper. I'm just thinking like, oh man, Joe, you were not having a bad day when you were writing this one for yourself. But yeah,
It's
we
great.
got you. We got Ava played by Finley Stevenson, who is absolutely
Yeah.
great and has so many lines of things which I don't understand, but we'll get into that for a second. Um, yeah, Zebulon Muckawan and Effie Willer by Neil and Julie Starbird, which has a last name is brilliant. If you ever tell them that from me, it's like Starbird's a fantastic name. That sounds like something on a comic book, you know.
Right.
And Lee's played by Tom Mormon. So I because it's funny when you say like you took inspiration from Star Trek. Star Trek is very hopeful and very like, oh no, we all get along, we all like each other. And then even
Right.
listening to Omega at the start with all this, but then also with Midnight Burger, these are a group of people who like sort of stumble into things, have their own opinions, don't like each other, but also I do get a sense of like these are very pandemic people of like everything kind of sucks to them. Like the wonders of the universe mean nothing to them.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, you know, there's I think you're right. I think like I mean, maybe with the exception of Gloria, any of the characters on their own, it doesn't quite work. But putting all of them together, there is something about the sort of synergy of all of them together that makes it, and the fact that they all together sort of strive forward and move forward. And in the end, even though they're constantly dragging each other, they are supporting each other. I think that that's, you know, that's what keeps that's what keeps it lively. I think that's what keeps the show going.
Yeah, because like aside from Gloria is I guess we're the only normal one there who's sort of like the person we have to appeal to because it's like, oh, she's just stuck now with these idiots, just like, to get them all together. But getting on into it, so what I mean, there's a it is a sci-fi show, but there is a lot of science that goes into this. Yeah, there's
Yeah.
a lot of talk of parallel universes, time travel, interdimensional things. Yeah, I mean, we're talking about Clementine. Clementine on her own is just a little bit like you try and describe what she is, and Ava does her best to do that, but it's just like there was a lot of how much research have you had to do?
Well, I mean, it's not as much as it sounds like, mainly because I have always, you know, I've always for the as long as I can remember, I've always like read, you know, Scientific American, been into this world, read about things, and it's just always, you know, real science is something that I've always been into and fascinated by. And so this was so a lot of it is not necessarily you know, a deep research project. Some of it is just stuff that's been rolling around in my head for a very long time, and it sort of finally found a place in the show, you know.
But is it difficult then to because you do your best to explain all the phenomena that happen in each show, which is fantastic. Has there been a particular one, or has there been times where it's been really tough to sort of like, in less sense to me and the audience, dumb it down?
Um, yeah, I mean, there's, you know, I don't have to dumb it down because my understanding of it is already pretty rudimentary. You know, it's like I don't have a science degree. Like if, you know, like I still can't explain quantum physics to you. Like I don't know what you mean when you're talking about quantum physics. But I think when you're dealing with stuff like with like deep real science, you want to, you know, you don't want to do a book report, you don't want to write an essay, and so you try and just stay in touch with whatever the spirit of the thing is. So there's the thing, you know, and then there's the spirit of the thing. Like what does it mean? Like what does it imply? What does it mean to us? And trying to focus more on that than the actual, you know, numbers and integers of the problem, or of the aspect of the universe, you know.
I mean, because that's the thing. You have built a universe in this now going forward with so many things. I mean, you go like all of these others, the time travel stuff. You've got the Teds, the Triad,
Right.
like so much stuff that you built around of it. Did you always have a set mind of like, okay, this is the universe, or this is the world I'm in, or has it just been building up over time? Like, oh, let me add this and this and this and this. I mean, like, even with like the first season when you had the X turned in, which is a great episode, I love that,
Right.
and you built that character on so much more. Did you have any ideas
Right.
on that, or was it just you just came up with it on the spot?
There's some stuff, at the very beginning, I said, why don't I decide some very basic, broad, general things about the universe that we're in, and then just in case it goes to season 5, why don't I just decide some of those things. And then there are other things that when I would put them in the show, they would imply so much more that it would make me want to explore it more, and so they became a bigger part of the show. And the X is one of those characters. Verge is one of those characters. And the Bert was one of those characters.
Yes.
Um, so it's characters like that where you're not necessarily you don't necessarily have plans for them when they show up in the script, but then when you get to the end of the script and you put the episode out, you realize that you've kind of opened with this particular character or this particular idea, you've opened up a can of worms. And usually you can't really do much with that can of worms. But in this sense, in an audio drama where we can do pretty much whatever we want, we can go wherever we want to go. And so we have the space in the room to explore as many of those ideas as we want to.
I mean, was it difficult in the sense, like, because as you said earlier, season one happened, you wrote it out thinking, doing the whole thing, thinking, oh, this will be it, and then it gets picked up by the Guardian, gets picked up everywhere, saying like, this is the podcast to listen to. You're thinking, okay, well, I guess we're going to do season 2. Great. What on God's earth is season 2? Like, was there a moment of like, oh, I should probably think about this properly? Like.
Um, no, there wasn't a lot of. Actually, though, it felt completely natural. Actually, going into season 2, like there was something that as we were headed towards the end of season 1, there was something really clicked and a lot expanded for me, and I was like, okay, this is definitely where we're going to go. For we're going to go. We're going to expand it a little. We're going to basically with each season, we're going to try and expand the world even more.
Yeah.
And so yeah, there wasn't. I'm trying to recall that now. Like, was there a moment where I was like, I felt like in a crisis because I suddenly had to come up with a new season. The season actually came to me really, really easily. It was like the sort of most natural creative experience I think I've ever had, actually.
I mean, because science fiction is a tough one because there are a lot of times with writers that they do write themselves into a corner. Because, like you
Yeah.
said, you can almost do everything with it, but then there are moments where it's just like, oh, I'll do this. This will be a great cliffhanger. I mean, even like with season 4, the cliffhanger, which is, I mean, I love it, it's amazing, but it's just like, was there a moment of like, that's done, and being like, how am I gonna get them out of this?
That's a great question to have, though. Like, I love that question. I don't know. I call into question the idea of painting yourself into a corner when you are the one who created the corner and the paint that you're painting with, Um, I
You can't be mad at the corner when you made it.
yeah, I mean, you can't be mad at the corner when you made it. And also, the corner can stop existing whenever you want it to, I think. I mean, if you're really in charge of the story and you really feel free doing something with the story, then should you be afraid of painting yourself into a corner? I don't really know,
I mean, we'll get
actually.
into spoilers a little bit in the next hour or so, but like, has there ever been a bit where like you went to a corner with this particular character or an episode and you were just like, I'll just make up some science fiction thing, just get myself out of it. Because I
No,
think
I don't. No, I mean,
every writer's allowed at least one cop out.
yeah, I don't think so. No, I mean, not that I'm aware of anyway. I don't think that's happened yet. But I mean, here we are. We're about to start season 5, and it hasn't happened yet. So maybe it's
Yeah,
just
well, I
not
mean,
going to happen.
that's the thing. So if anyone wants to listen to it, there's 4 seasons of it right now, but also not just 4
Right.
seasons of Midnight Burger, 2 essentially spin-offs of other things as well. Because I mean, the first one you did was Young Leaf,
Yeah.
where you explored
Right.
his becoming a space pirate, essentially.
Right.
Why go into detail about Leaf? Why dive into that, into his tragic past?
Well, with the show, everyone's all the other characters, their sort of science fictional life began with the diner, and Leif was the only character who had a kind of science fiction life before he showed up at the diner. Leif was, he was an engineer on Earth. He left Earth and became this galactic drifter for a while, and got into all sorts of shenanigans and things like that. And I wanted to flesh out that story a little bit because all of it was really implied, and I wanted to actually go there. And doing a prequel like that for any of the other characters like that, like for Gloria, it would just be her starting a taqueria,
Yeah,
which is
or Ava stuck at university.
yeah, stuck at university, which would be great, and I'm sure, but it's not in the same genre as Midnight Burger, whereas
I would
Leif's
love
story
to
really
see
was.
the spin-off of Casper the DMV.
Yeah, just Casper at the DMV,
just his attitude for 2 hours dealing with customers.
Yeah, just being miserable, an entire prequel season of that, that's not really, wouldn't really, I'm sure someone could write that and it could be funny and everything, but it's like it doesn't
I'm sure
fit
someone
in
has,
the
sir. I'm
genre.
sure someone has. But
Right.
the other spin-off that you did was Welcome to the Horizon,
Yes.
which you really that's a difficult spin-off to go into because you really do have to pay attention to season
You
2
do.
in
Yeah.
order to listen to it and then understand the
Absolutely. You
characters.
really do. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's weird because like the both of them are because Young Life, you could say it's like a prequel to the show, but also if you don't listen to it, there's stuff at the end of that season of the third season of Midnight Burger that you're not quite going to get unless you've listened to Young Life and gotten the
Yes.
backstory. So it's like we do these mini series, like we've done Young Life, we did Welcome to the Horizon. We're doing season 2 of Welcome to the Horizon as well
Oh,
in this
great.
season. And so, even though they are spin-offs or prequels, they are still intrinsically connected to the main show. So you do have to kind of listen to them as
I know
well. It's kind of not
you've
optional.
marbled your way into this. You made sure that I have to listen to them in order to understand the
You
plot.
really do. Yeah. I mean, sadly, I have marveled it, and that,
Which
which
I
is
do
sad.
love. I do love the shows, by the way. But even when I'm listening to the first episode, realizing that there are bits into it that you reference later. I mean, Bird's character develops hugely in one. I
Right.
was just like, and it's just a little like, oh, you son of a, I have to listen to this because if season 5 is not going to make any sense if you just add characters now.
I know. And there are people who, I don't know. There are people who skip it and then they get to the end of the season, they're a little confused. I mean, we did release them in that order. We did
Yes, you
release
did.
like
They are each week. Yeah.
right, each. So it's just like, and they should be the order that we released them is the order you should probably listen to them in. But controlling that is an impossible thing. There are some people who like when they encounter the show, they decide to start with Young Leif because that's the prequel, so they want to go chronologically through the show, which is fine. It's just
Yeah, but
it's not what we
doesn't really
intended.
work though if you already know who Leaf
Not
is.
exactly. Yeah, you really need to know who the people are. But I don't know. That's another thing is that you can't really control how people listen to the show. So you just kind of have to hope for the best.
I love that because this. So you're planning season 2 of Welcome to the Horizon season 5. Is there not that you would, but has there been any other aspect where you've been like, well, this might be a spin-off if I wanted to, hypothetically?
Yeah, absolutely. And we've got them all in development right now. There's a bunch of them. So
A
like
good one.
the intention.
I'd love you to
No,
do is
no,
the
go ahead.
Cowboy World.
Oh, the cowboy world. You want to do Menlore?
Yeah. I just feel that there's so many weird characters. I feel like, oh, that'd be so funny.
Yeah, that is true. I mean, that would be fun. I mean, a cowboy, but in the end, I mean, it was meant to be kind of a spoof on Westworld. And so if I did a
Yeah.
whole spin-off on that, then I'm just doing I'm just doing Westworld, the comedy. And, I don't know. I don't know if
I know,
that's
I get it. Like, it was
fresh,
just you making fun of it.
Mhm. But yeah, we've got a lot of, the idea after season 5 is to really do a lot of work expanding the world even more. So we've got a few things in development that are characters that people have seen in the past in the show that could use some more attention and that you're more interested in. And so we're we're developing the idea of like doing a lot of those all at once and seeing how that works.
I love that. The next question I'm going to say is something that I think so many times people have asked the show about these things, but in terms of the characters, were any characters inspired by anybody? Was there any were there only three or four people that you didn't like that you thought, oh, I'll put you in the show, damn you?
No, no, I don't really. I don't really, like to put, my life too much into the show. I mean, I'm a father, and so is Casper, and so there's a little bit of overlap there. But I don't like to. I don't really find myself all that interesting, so I don't really like putting, autobiographical moments into the show. Finley Stevenson, who I produce the show with, and who is also my life partner,
Yeah,
um,
I was about to say you
likes
put
yeah
yourself in there since your partner is in
likes
there.
to yeah she likes to insist that I'm putting our relationship into the show between Casper and Ava, but I don't see it. I'm sorry. She sees it sometimes, but I don't see it.
Okay,
You know.
okay, damn you. No, because it would just be funny to be like Leaf was just based on an uncle that you were just like, oh no, he was
No.
very scrappy and wanted to build a lot of stuff. I was like, okay.
That's funny actually, because I did have an uncle who was kind of a tinkerer and a weirdo who like made things. He
Oh, so
like
maybe he was in there somewhere.
ma made very strange bicycles and things like that. So maybe that was somewhere in the back of my head. It was actually my uncle Pepe who
Ah,
inspired
maybe.
Leif.
I mean, it's because the show's grown in big in many ways. You literally just had, well, not literally just had, but you did this year go have your first live performance. You went to a live event in Chicago this year.
Yeah, we did two live shows in Chicago over the summer, and that was really really great.
I
That
mean,
was
was
it
it
was
was it nervous? Was it it's been big? How was it?
Yeah, because you don't really, because it's live. You can't control literally anything. There's very few things you can control in a live environment. So we didn't really know what to expect. We when we put the tickets on sale, they were everyone freaked out and bought tickets very quickly, and which we weren't expecting. And so we had this moment where it's like the tickets, just because we've got a very small venue, the tickets sold out very quickly. We added another night, those sold out even quicker. And so we don't actually know how big of a space we could have filled with people. We don't actually know like how many people who would have shown up, but we had this wonderful time in Chicago. We did a live show. You can hear it on the public feed right now.
Yeah.
And it was just great. We got, the people showed up. We got, we got the audience involved in the show. Some people got to, play a role in the show, not knowing they were until that night. Um,
I
and
do love
it was
because
just,
you did sort of make it very interactive, which I do appreciate and love.
yeah, it was great. Like I would, like people would walk up to me just to like introduce themselves and say how much they love the show. And I would say, thank you very much. Here are your lines. You're going to be in the show. Please step up to that mic right there when it's your turn. And they freaked out a little bit, but I think everybody did a really great job. It was a lot of fun. It's interesting about live shows because, I do think these days, you know, going out to a bar or going out just with friends, it's kind of like not enough anymore. I think people need, events that are like there's a certain amount of meaning to them. There's a certain amount of purpose to them. There seems to be a lot of, at least in America, there seems to be a lot of hunger for that. So I hope other shows do the same thing. Some other shows we know are doing live events as well, and I hope that keeps up because it's great. You know, audio drama in general, podcasting is very like personal. It's very like, it's about the personal
Yeah.
connection. But then with audio drama, you're always separated from the audience because you're playing a character. So it's like you don't get a chance to make that personal connection. But I think if you, live performances as an audio drama, give you that connection to the audience. It gives you that opportunity to actually personally connect as a human being to the audience, which you don't normally get in an audio drama. So I hope
I mean,
more shows do it.
was that something where like you said because audio itself is very isolating, like you like. Well, I mean, whilst yeah, you get lots of reviews, you get a lot of people on the social media that's saying they're big fans of it. Was it nice to actually see people actually in person show how much they
Yeah,
have appreciated the show? Was it like an immense feeling?
it was great. It was an immense feeling, but the best feeling was them meeting each other because they knew each other like from our Discord server and things like that, and they knew each other from like the chat thread on our Patreon and things like that. But a lot of them had not met each other. And so they were meeting each other for the first time after, knowing each other for a couple of years sometimes. Uh, and they were organizing meetup events before the show, all getting together at a park and stuff like that. So the real magic of it was the fact that because there's this, aside from the show being something that we're proud of, something else that we're really proud of is that there's a really amazing community of fans around the show who really support each other and are great with each other. And a lot of them are scientists and they get on the Discord server and they're talking about things. I have no idea what they're talking about. So the fact that
Have
this
you seen have
community,
you seen have you seen fans argue with each other in terms of plot points?
a little bit, yes, but not too much. There's not a lot of, there's not of like the usual stuff that goes on. It's not like it's not a Star Wars subreddit, if you know what I'm saying. It's,
Yeah, you
it's,
unfortunately both know that.
there's lively debate. I would say that, but it's not, I wouldn't say that it's arguing. No. But yeah, that the live show, that was the really amazing, that was the most amazing thing about the live show was the fact that everyone finally got to meet each other, in the community that's sort of naturally grown up around the show.
Well, just to give everyone a little bit of a taste of what I mean by interactive, because you should listen to it. It's a great show because not only does it well, one thing, it makes fun of my profession, which which I was very appreciative of. That's difficult. Oh, you're doing that? Okay, fair enough. And also, I mean, the episode should have just been called, Leaf meets his exes, which is absolutely which is
Don't give
hilarious.
it away now.
No, no,
Spoilers.
no, it's not.
It's been
If you
out
have
for a
this to right
while.
now, you're fine.
Okay. Yes,
I've
yes.
spoiled
Come on
nothing.
now. Yeah.
No, but I mean, I would because I want to go into details, but it's just a bit that there are certain characters or certain parts there where I could hear you all there just be like, oh, laughing so much, like, oh, what this person's doing because it must have been fantastic.
Yeah. It was great. Yeah. I mean, there was definitely like the visual aspect of it sadly was lost. A lot of people asked us to like live stream it video, but we just did not have the technological wherewithal at that point really to make that happen. So maybe next time.
Oh yeah, hopefully. Well, I mean, that's the bit. Hopefully, there are more live shows to come now that you've had a taste.
Right.
You know,
For sure.
you've had a
Yeah.
taste of
I
what
hope
it's
so.
like, and like, okay, yeah. Despite the fact that Chicago was quite hot for you.
It was a very hot experience, but there are less hot parts of the world where we can definitely
Well, speaking
do
for
some
someone who's in
extras.
LA, that seems a bit much.
Actually, it's been very mild here lately. Chicago, I don't know if you've been to Chicago. The thing about Chicago is the humidity. Like it is terrible. It
I
is
mean,
so
you did it.
rough in the summertime.
I'm asking, you did it in June, didn't you? So you picked the bad time.
Yeah. Yeah, it was rough. It was really rough. For me anyway. I'm someone who does not do well in humidity, but Chicago, but
The,
Chicago's a great town and it's full of a lot of great people. And, in the summertime, a lot of them go nuts and jump into the lake because it's just so humid and terrible there in the summertime. But
nah,
it was still, humidity aside, it was still a great experience for sure.
nah, I love that because because I just imagine it must have been such a great experience for the cast to also meet the fans as well. Was there any
Yeah.
particular, I mean, not that I'll let you pick favorites, but is there a particular fan favorite that everyone wanted to meet?
Well, I can tell you that, like, okay, so like the show ended, and then all of the fans were sort of talking to the actors, and I think it was like 2 hours after the show had ended, and I don't think Susie Suarez had moved at any point because like people were just constantly coming up to her, talking to her, taking selfies, signing things, all that stuff. Like she was just putting in the hours. It was it
Oh,
was
that's so
uh, it was
sweet.
pretty amazing. It was
Did
really
they?
it was pretty amazing. Yeah.
I mean, we talked about that before, but did any of them bring you anything? Was there any fan made gifts or something?
Oh yeah, there's tons of stuff. I mean, I mean, this is audio, so you can't see, but you know that over my shoulder, someone has made a cardboard cutout of a robot in the show named Peter, right?
Yes.
And so Ramsey Hong, who is one of our fans and loves to like make things for the show, he showed up and he brought Peter, and he also brought a bunch of like badges that he had made for BurgerCon, quote unquote. And so there's a lot of that stuff. A lot of fans came and they just wanted to like they made some fan art, or they just wanted to give me like some pictures that they had taken, stuff like that. Yeah, there's a lot of that going on. It was overwhelming for sure.
Because I mean, because one thing aspect that a lot of audio dramas of any show will have is fan art, which I imagine there was quite a
For
bit.
sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean,
But
was
there's people, yeah, some people did some cosplaying, and that was fun too. Which is hard to do if it's an audio drama, so
I
they
was about
kind
to
of just
say,
had to make it up.
did it feel weird? I mean, were there? Because I imagine, I mean, it's your mind. You're the one who essentially you are the only person who knows what each of these characters in your head looks like. So when other people
Right.
did fan art or cosplay, was there a little bit of like, oh, that's how you see them? Okay.
I think it's great. I mean, I think that what's great about audio drama is that it can be a kind of you can kind of customize your character in the same way that you would playing like Skyrim or something like that. It's like you can see the characters however you want to see them. And even when someone makes fan art, or even when we put out, quote unquote, official art, we're always good. We always make it a point of when we put out any official art, we also put out other art that completely contradicts the other official art that we just put out because we like the idea, you know, we like the idea of it being the artist's interpretation of the character rather than sort of our official our official sort of canon. This is what the character looks like. That's what's so great about audio drama. You can have an ownership of the story that you can't necessarily have in something that's more visual.
That's the very sweet way of doing it. The cynical side of me was me thinking like, I'm gonna make sure the fans have absolutely no idea what anything looks like. The diner. I'm gonna make so many artists. You're gonna make sure no one knows what it looks like. But with the fan art, because another tactic that a lot of fan artists do, which to their credit with audio is fine, they do try to make the main characters look like the actors, the ones who actually voice it.
Right.
Have you seen any artwork of you as you?
I have not seen any artwork of me as me. I mean, I try and keep my face out of the internet as much as I can, but it's like, but no, no one tries to make it look like us, really. Everyone tries to keep to the picture that they have in their head, which is great because I don't want to be in someone's art. You know what I mean? I would
Yeah, but
rather,
bit
I
difficult
love
as a
the,
main character.
I work in audio on purpose, and I don't need visual representations of myself.
No,
Um,
you look great. You'd be perfect for camera.
yeah, 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 perfect, sure, sure, sure.
No, no. But I mean, it's. I mean, because another thing we did want to sort of like dive into was the fact that it is mainly just you writing it. You know, like
Yeah,
you are the overall head writer, head everything, and
yeah,
there is a lot of stuff into this. I mean, we were talking a little bit before that the amount of characters in this is so tough to
yeah.
sort of coordinate everything. Do you have a method of making everything all work in line, or do you have people to help you with it?
No, it's just me, but it hasn't been a problem so far. I mean, somehow it's all stayed contained in my head. I do have a collection of all the scripts in one big PDF, and every
How big
once
is
in a
that
while,
PDF? That must be massive.
it's thousands of pages, and it's it's but that is mainly just to honestly, that's just to make sure that I'm like tracking all the names, because one of the things on our Patreon is that you on one of the tiers you can get your name in the show. And so when sometimes I'll forget if I've included a name or not, and so I go back to the Big Show Bible and I look it up.
Have you ever
Um,
had to? Have you ever had to go back in the previous scripts and look up like certain details of things because you've just forgotten?
Details of characters, no. Sometimes there's like really minuscule things, like it's something that I mentioned one time and I can't quite remember the name of the planet or something like that. So I'll go back to that. Like there was one mix up where I have one. There's one solar system called the Justine Burbank system, uh, and
Yes.
right, and I
Well,
had
the
actually,
names you've
I
done
had
for these things are so stupid.
yeah, I had accidentally used another name for that system, and so I had to go back and I had to like correct it. But so the little stuff like that really is what I use the big script for. But everything else has stayed contained pretty well in my head somehow.
That's pretty impressive, mate. Just to have like every, cause I mean, with sci-fi, especially with a podcast as popular as yours, it's just something where people will dedicate a lot of time to keep track on. They'll remember
Yeah.
everything.
And
So
that is probably the most terrifying thing is the fact that people listen over and over again and they really sort of pour over things. And so you get worried that's like, have I actually covered myself on all of this? But it's been fine so far. So
I mean,
I guess we'll see.
do you have a favorite name of any particular planet or solar system or character that you were just like kind of proud of that you named it that?
Uh, God, favorite name. I don't
I mean,
think so. You know, the
the
Justine
Justin
Burbank
Burbank system
system.
sounds quite good.
Right. Well, the premise with the Justine Burbank system is that, you know, you can go to the International Star Registry and as a gift, you can get a star named after you.
Yeah.
And so in the show, you go out into the universe and there's all these stars named after people, but somehow that's actually binding. And they do
Yes.
actually end up being named the sort of, you know, the Joni Loves Michael galaxy or the Joni Loves Michael system. So that's why, you know, you have a system named Justine Burbank. But I think
But
that,
no,
yeah, I
I
mean,
love the level of dedication that you have in those sort of things. Because I mean, we'll get into plot points and everything else in the second half, just because. But just like the level of detail that you have put into this is remarkable. I mean, have you had the cast or crew, anyone else, sort of jump in and add things to it? Have you taken anything in?
um, I think there's little bits and pieces of things here and there, but I can't think of them off the top of my head. Certainly, you know, they'll interpret the characters in ways that I'm not expecting, uh, and things like that. But in terms of adding things, I
I mean,
don't
were there
think
any
so.
character traits that they just decided, we're just gonna add this in whether you like it or not?
Um, well, I mean, I think that there is a sort of back and forth that happens because, you know, I don't write all of the episodes and then we produce them. I write as we produce.
Yeah.
And so usually someone will come in um and you know I'll write a few episodes you know a few episodes of this character with this character in it and the actor will come in and then start interpreting the character and then I'll see where they're going and then I can actually incorporate the direction that they're headed into further episodes so the characters in a certain sense with their performance have this kind of influence on the character um, so, which is really a great way to work. And, you know, it is kind of dangerous because you are constantly on a time crunch. But if you can, you
Yeah.
know, incorporate the actor's performance into the writing of the character, you can create something that feels a little more organic and a little more married to the actor themselves, you know?
I mean, you don't have to name names, but has there ever been a character where the actor's gone one way and you were like, oh, okay, guess I'm writing it like that now, huh? Okay.
No, not yet. No, not no. Thus far, it's been great. You know, it's because it's really like you cast an actor like for their, you know, for the feeling that you get from them and for their vibe, and you know that the vibe is right. And so it's really just about the specifics of like what direction they want to go with their vibe and the character. But there's no one thus far, nobody's walked in and I've just been like, what? You know, I've been like completely confused as to what they're doing. That has not happened yet. We've been really lucky in a lot of ways, for sure.
Well, I hope it doesn't happen to you. Yeah. Uh,
Yeah, me too.
okay, so we're going to go to an ad break now for about 5 minutes. Joe, hopefully you'd like to stay on a little bit longer because I'd love to talk more about the actual show. You know,
Sure.
because we will go into more spoiler things as much as we can into the second half, just because
Okay.
I imagine that's the part that everyone actually wants to listen to, which is
All right.
Chris, stop talking about random nonsense. We actually want to talk about the show. It's like, okay, we'll get into that. So tune in 5 minutes, and we'll have some well, I'll do as much as I can because if I can remember, then hopefully I'll rely on you, man. See you in about 5 minutes, guys. Hey guys, welcome back to LOL starring Chris Smith, the best comedy show not to be ready. I am still here with famous playwright, podcast man, maker of Midnight Burger award nominee winner, Joe Fisher of Midnight Burger. How are you doing today, sir? Doing still good?
I'm good. Welcome to hour 2, where we will reveal all spoilers about the show. Are you ready, everyone?
Yes,
here we
season
go.
5 will be spoiled for you right now. No, we won't do that. We'll be nice.
Everything will be revealed in this hour. Get ready.
I mean, how many times have fans did so many fans at the live event in Chicago be like, "What's happening in season 5? What's going on?" You know?
Let me tell you, especially recently, I've been getting emails. I get emails, and the emails go like this: "Hey Joe, not asking for spoilers, but," and then literally just ask me for a bunch of spoilers. And I have to write them back saying, "You're literally just asking me for spoilers and saying you're not asking me for spoilers."
Oh,
she's like, God, "I'm sorry, you actually have to listen to the show. I apologize." You know,
not asking for spoilers, but in episode There Be Dragons with the pirate.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, A, how did you know that much research? And 2, why are you asking me?
Yeah, seriously. I mean, shoot your shot. I mean, I go for it if you want to, but it's just, the story should be revealed in the story and not in, in an email that you send me,
Yeah. Well, I mean, for anyone who doesn't know, season 5 is already out on Patreon. It's been out right now, but what day would it come out for the public?
So on October 14th is when it goes live on the public feed.
Fantastic. So that's the episode 1, and then when is it every month that it come out?
Well, there's going to be, so what'll happen is that you'll have one episode of Midnight Burger, and then following that, 2 weeks later will be an episode of Welcome to the Horizon season 2.
Yes, that's
okay.
That's...
And we'll switch off between those two. They're very interconnected this season, so probably a good idea to listen to them in that order.
Damn you, but I'll do it. I'll love it too much.
Listen, if you have the fortitude to wait, I suggest not. I suggest listening to it. We've got some, it's going to be a very interesting season of Welcome to the Horizon because it's so intrinsically connected to what's going on in the actual in the main show in Midnight Burger. So
yeah, so I mean, for anyone if you didn't listen to Welcome to the Horizon, especially at the very end, we'll say spoiler reveal now.
Right.
It does. Leaf does kind of pop up where it's like, oh, I know this is like, oh, this is main plot territory. Damn it, I have to listen.
Yeah, I do. Yes, I promise that we release them in this order for a reason, and that it would be great to listen to them in this order. But again, you do you, everybody. If you want to listen to them backwards, that's, totally your prerogative as well.
There's a fortitude. I mean, because would you recommend people be like, just wait a bit of time, you'll have the whole season? I mean, how long is this season?
We actually don't know how long the season is going to be, because here's what's happened. Because like season 3, we said, okay, it's going to be this many episodes. And then we were like, oh, wait, it actually needs to be 2 more episodes. And then season 4 came around and we said, okay, it's going to be this many episodes. And then again, I was like, ooh, actually, both Welcome to the Horizon and Midnight Burger need to be 2 more episodes. So we've stopped predicting how long the season is. It's going to be at least 10 episodes, I can tell you that. But how many episodes past 10, I'm not sure.
Yeah, you just don't know, which is fair enough.
Well, it's kind of like, it's like you've got a list of things to do. You don't know how much time it's going to take to do your to-do list. So
No, it's completely fair enough, because I think even with season 3, it was like, one episode was like a young Leif episode where you were like,
right,
hey guys, I need to add another episode because if I just finish this now, it's not going to make any sense. So I respect that. I respect it. If the fortitude of it, I need to add more because it doesn't make sense afterwards. I respect.
Well, it's great because like in audio drama, especially in indie audio drama, you can do whatever you want. Like if this was a TV show, we would only have 10 episodes because that's how many the network bought. Right. Yeah. So we'd have that much time, but we have as much time as we want. And so we don't need to say we're only doing this many. We don't need to try and truncate the season so that it fits into this many episodes. We can just keep going until we feel that it's done. And when the end is in sight, we can say to people, okay, it's ending on this episode,
Well, just to give people something out of their mind, what can we expect in season 5? Give us something. Just give them like a little teaser. Like, is there any what can they expect to listen to?
I think what they can expect. I think if you look at the past season as The Empire Strikes Back, this is very much Return of the Jedi. I would say in this particular season.
Ah,
This season is about coming back from the whatever all the things that happened at the end of season four, and
we'll say right now,
working
anyone
back.
who hasn't listened to up to season four, that turn off now because that's just the deal. They've been out for months. you know?
That's right. Yeah. We will freely talk about the show up to season four,
Yeah,
everyone. So
that's the thing.
buyer
They've been out
beware.
for months.
Right.
I still love the fact that the show is called Midnight Burger, and I think in all four seasons you've not once served a burger, which I think is absolutely hilarious.
That's we have yeah, rarely we've served actual burgers. We've
No,
served more tacos at Midnight
yeah,
Burger
you're a taco place
than
more.
we have, but which is interesting, which is also kind of inspired from like where I particularly live, right? So I live in Southern California, and in Southern California, you do have, as I was saying, you have these kind of mid-century modern diners everywhere. They're kind of left over from a different era. But what's happened is that those places go out of business, but then the building gets bought by sometimes people who are from Mexico, they're from Ecuador, they're from El Salvador, and they'll still serve hamburgers, fries, things like that. But then also you get like there'll be tacos there. That there'll be a different kind of food there. So you actually do end up with a lot of diners that serve both diner food and also really great like Mexican food. So
No, I love that because I literally just thought it was like at this point it was just a running joke of like Gloria. Gloria's purpose was that she was serving the Mexican restaurants. Her whole food prep as a chef is that, and I just would love it
right.
at one point to be like, be called a hey, can I actually have a burger here, please? What's the show?
Yeah.
What is it called?
Well, remember she started her career at Jack in the Box, so she's
Yes,
well versed in many culinary you know.
yes.
She's
Well, I
very
mean,
versatile.
yes, and just the most same on there. Hang on. Because the thing about each of them, because I do want to talk a little bit. Finlay's character Ava, who
Mhm.
is a theoretical physicist in
Right.
the show, if that's the proper title, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, which I've always I was once told by a friend the most if you want to find someone depressing to talk to a theoretical physicist because they'll explain the world and they'll say it's all true and you'll feel depressed afterwards because that's how science works. Like, no.
That's
I mean,
true. I mean, from a certain perspective, yes, that's true.
no, it's
Um,
just like I love her character so much because she doesn't give a flying F what anyone else thinks except herself, which is
yeah.
perfect for her vibe. But
Yeah.
there is so much science talk that she has to do. Yeah, has Finley come back to you and been like, Joe, what on God's green earth am I reading here? Because I don't know what this is.
Physics can make Finley angry sometimes. And she will get mad at me because of physics, because physics exists. And I get it because the thing about physics, especially theoretical physics, is that the theoretical part is that there's so much of it that is the unknown and it's all just conjecture. And so it's hard sometimes to actually like plant your feet on something, because everything is a theory. So it can get frustrating sometimes, but I think that despite her frustrations with the field of physics, I think that she does a phenomenal job with
No,
sometimes
I
the very difficult things that that I give her to talk about.
no, because I do love her for that. Because I do sort of feel like of the four, the main cast, her job is the toughest because she's the one that has to be the let me explain everything plot. Because
Right.
whilst Lee for Tom, he can also do it. He also has at least the side of like I could just make up sci-fi mumbo jumbo in terms of building stuff, and that works.
Yeah, there's a lot of real science that comes out of Ava, and that's a lot of that's probably the hardest stuff to write is the real science stuff. Not just trying to wrap my mind around it, but also trying to describe it and use it in a way that's that makes people feel like they're part of a story and not part of like a TED talk, or a part of some sort of lecture series, is to make it feel alive and breathing, and make it feel like, when we talk about something like, you know, Maxwell's demon or something like that, or the heat death of the universe and things like that. Rather not talk about those things like they're clinical subjects, but talk about them like they're living, breathing, apparitions in your life. Like these things. There is an end to this universe out there somewhere, and when you describe it as it's actually quite terrifying. And there's this part of in season 4 that still sticks with me, which is the idea that, the galaxy that you and I are living in, the Milky Way, is actually headed towards the Andromeda galaxy.
Yeah.
Uh, and in about 1 billion years, they're going to collide with each other and make one big, gigantic galaxy, right?
Mm.
After that happens, the universe will have expanded to such an extent that this huge galaxy is the only thing we're going to be able to see. We're no longer going to be able to see other galaxies. We're no longer going to be able to see distant stars. We're only going to be able to see this galaxy. It will appear as though this galaxy is the only thing that exists. And that idea being terrifying for Ava is a moment that still sticks with me because it keys into the fact that Ava doesn't think about the day to day. Ava thinks about everything in terms of trillions of years. And for her, 1 billion years is right around the corner. And so, she has to, like, that's how much time she has to figure out literally everything in the universe. And to have a character whose goal is to literally know everything is a huge challenge and a huge, it's a great thing to play with as a character because they have an impossible goal. And yet
Mm.
there are times in the show where you feel like she's almost there. You feel like she's almost done it. So what's great about the character of Ava is that it's is that the ideas are so enormous. They're so big. And they're so big that you can't quite wrap your mind around them. But she is convinced that her mind is actually big enough to wrap around the entire universe, to wrap around all of existence, and
Yeah,
watching
that's
her
true.
try and achieve that is has been a lot of fun to write, and it's been a lot of fun watching Finley do it.
I mean, because it's also like one of my favorite episodes, which you did was I think season 3, which was Mall of the Great Mall of America, where like you got trapped in the mall,
Right.
which is
Right.
to me like because I know cause the reference of what it was, which I'm unfortunately wasn't alive at the time to do, but I know about it was what you were doing with the Cabbage Patch Kids. I was thinking like
Right.
this is so this is so dumb, but I love it. But like there is a bit in it where Ava sort of has acknowledged the fact that all the other characters changed. They
Right.
grew as us, and the one that she didn't. It was just like,
Right.
did everyone change but me? Because that's the thing where it's just like
Right.
these characters themselves. I mean, like in season 2, Leaf made such a big character growth in terms of like who he was, what you do with the space pirates, your bad all that stuff. Where it's just like trying to make each one of them grow it's a
Right.
difficult thing, but also making them maintain the same thing. How is it difficult to sort of maintain that balance?
Um, no, not really. I think if you just the fact that they all have these disparate elements to them is what makes it great, is what makes it great to work with, because there are there are these different characters headed in all of these different directions, but they're all doing it together. And, in everyone's journey, everyone else kind of supports them a little bit, uh, which is should be how humanity works. Everyone should be headed in their own direction, but at the same time supporting each other. And it's great to sort of, I don't know, exemplify that a little bit.
I mean, one thing I do sort of love with each character because and I'll use Casper. I'll use Casper as a good example of that. Like in
Mhm.
season 1, Casper could just be seen as a jerk. He
Sure.
is just a guy who just is there, doesn't need to look or care anything else out there. But then as more goes into it, you sort of see how more complicated he is, and especially when Clementine goes back in his past and talks to and looks to him, you sort of get the hint of like, oh, this guy's a jerk for a reason. He's actually
Right.
not had a good life. His life has just been it sucked, and like you see this especially with Casper, like especially in season 4, it's like people are saying like, why do you still care about this little thing or like this little bit? It's just like him doing like, because this is who I am. This is what I do. And I do appreciate that of like how you've made each of these characters not so they're more complicated than they have to be, because they're in a space epic. There's something where it's like, this is the biggest thing there was, and you're worried about this. Why is this the biggest world? It's like, no, that's the nice thing about like Casper. Casper is, aside from Gloria, the most normal one there. He doesn't have anything else. He's the human. He's the guy who's just there, who got dragged into it.
Right. Yeah. And, you know, that's, and, you know, there needs to be somebody like that. You know, it's like, because even, you know, like Gloria shows up as a very sort of quote unquote normal person as well. But Gloria very quickly finds this, you know, very real purpose in her life in, you know, sort of when she takes over the diner as being in charge of the diner. And Casper really is kind of a cork in the ocean to a certain extent. And I think that that's, you know, what I like about that is the idea is that it doesn't necessarily have to be about having a gigantic purpose in life or having an intense passion in life. Sometimes your life can just be about the idea of getting up in the morning, because for some people that's incredibly hard to do. And so seeing Casper, despite what he's gone through, he just keeps going, you know, and that idea of resilience and fortitude, I think is really important, because it's like, if he makes it to the end of the day, he's achieved his goal. You know, it's like, if he can motivate himself to keep going and that's it, then, you know, that's an achievement for him, you know. Whereas
I
with
think
others, you know,
it's also the fact that I think he is unironically one of the stronger characters in the sense that he also has spent the most time in the diner. You know, he spent decades there, essentially by himself, with no other real person there, and has just learned to just sort of, in that way, keep his humanity in check. Because that's what with Leaf and Ava. Ava has sort of abandoned it intentionally. And Gloria is slowly doing it, but he's the one who's like, no, I still care about my kid. I still care about my job. I still care about these are the things I like, you know.
Right. For sure.
I just love that about them. Since then, I'm just doing a deep dive of all the characters, which I didn't mean to.
Go for it.
No, but I love that though, because even with Leaf, you gave a lot of grief, especially like, because we spoiled a little bit, even in the live show, how many people hate him. It's just immense. Just like, you keep adding ex-girlfriends to him. It's just a little, just like, oh, I need to add one more. I need to make one other person hate him.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that's, you know, that is, it's a great thing to do with Leif is, you know, give him, you could just surround, because, you know, because the fans love Leif to death. They really, really love him. However, most people in Leif's life really don't like him. They really hate him a lot. Yeah, they really do. And so watching him, because, you know, Leif's thing though is that like, everyone that hates him from another era of his life. And he has to like go back and like deal with the total mess that he's made, you know, over the decades, right? But we weren't there for that, you know, as the audience, right? As the audience, we're here with this guy that we like, you know, this fun guy who makes things, who makes robots named Peter that we love, right? And so people show up and like absolutely hate this guy. So like watching the dichotomy of that, you know, watching the sort of parallel of like people that, you know, knew him, hate him, but you love him, you know, that's always a lot of fun.
That even in the live show, you pointed out, I was like, because Leaf saying like, I'm trying to be a better person. I'm trying to be a different person out there than everyone else wants to be. But what the trouble is, I keep finding other versions of myself that are also this person. It's just like, you were put in such a corner.
Yeah, so that's another aspect of life is that he keeps running into himself, right? More than anyone else in the show, he has run into himself a few times.
Do you
And,
do you, do you have a favorite version of him?
my favorite version is Leif Prime, like the one that you meet the first time. That's my favorite version of Leif. But working with on the other versions of him is always a lot of fun. And the fact that all of the versions of him do kind of act as just like voices in his head in a certain sense, even though they're very real and he's actually running into them, they are kind of voices in his head. And, I think human beings are like that a lot. Like you do have in your head 1,000 versions of yourself. Like there's the mean version of you who wants to take over sometimes. And then there's the nice version, there's the scared version, there's the brave version of you. And all of those people are in your head. And Leif is kind of like, a symbol of that idea.
I do love it because other Leaf and even older Leaf are some. I imagine are some class favorites, and the fact that even in season 3, he talks to himself as even older Leaf is a little like
Right.
Was that just
Yeah.
a
It's
fun
like,
thing for Tom to do, just to be like, oh, I just have to talk to myself as two different versions of myself?
it was like, it used to be when we first did that, when we first in episode 6, when he first, he's confronted by himself from the future
Mm,
and then confronted by himself from even further in the future, right?
yeah.
And so at first we had to record all of those tracks separately, but he's done it so many times now that he can just flip back and forth no problem. Like it's just like it's become just a part of, it's become a part of the gig,
No, but I love
you
that.
know.
Because
Yeah.
especially with the live show, because supposed where they're like, of all of his ex-girlfriends, the Orb, I think, is my personal top
The
10,
orb.
which I
Everybody
think
loves the orb.
which I think
Yeah.
I could just hear all because I could even hear the voice actor laughing at
Yeah.
herself when she was doing
Yeah.
it.
Well, because like that, okay, so that was, well, the funny thing is that that's Allison who played the orb, who is actually Tom's partner that he
Oh,
lives with. And we had no idea what she was going to do. And she kind of showed up that night and was just like, I think I'm going to do like an echoey thing. And we were just
yeah.
like, all right.
Nice
And
to see
she did it.
you.
Yeah, yeah. And it was so funny. Like it was hard. There was a minute like, are we going to have to stop the show for a second to stop laughing?
I
But
mean, I must.
we made it through.
I mean, I love that. That even if not that you thought, but that moment I was just like, oh, okay, that's the way we're going into it. Like, okay, stop myself from breaking.
Right.
Because you do put bloopers at the end of the episodes now,
Right.
season 2 onwards. What was the
Right.
most difficult scene to do? Have you ever done without breaking?
The French scene, probably. There's a scene in so in season 4,
Season
there's a
4.
moment where everything's going haywire, and for no reason whatsoever, for about 2 minutes, everybody speaks French.
Yes,
Um,
yes.
right.
You get the Mucklewains doing a southern
Yes.
French accent.
A southern accent, speaking French in a southern accent. Everyone kept their accent except for Ava. Everyone kept their accent. And everyone was suddenly speaking French, which was really difficult for us to get through when we were recording it, when we were doing the recording session. And it got to a point where I was like, everyone, I think, needs to go and record this on their own and send me their lines.
I mean, because
Uh,
imagine Neil doing his Zebulon
yeah,
and French. I could hear it just
man,
you being like, "Nope, I'm not. I need to be out of here. I'm not."
it was so hard to get through. Yeah, it was one of the few times where I was just like, we have to stop. We have to stop recording this part now. Everyone needs to record it at home and send it to me because we can't stop laughing at each other,
I
while
have to
we're
say that
recording.
because I remember that scene, which was funny because that's carrying on season 4, but also that was a bit of a gamble because it's audio. Not a lot of people speak French. Not a lot of people are going to
There
like.
was people. What was great about it is that, very few of us were actually any good at speaking the French at all. But the French speakers who listened to it loved it because it made them look so good. You know what I mean? It
You
made
got
their
you
French.
got the sign of approval. Like, yep, you did
Right,
good.
we got the sign of approval. Yeah. But yes, I heard from all of our French fans, all of our French Canadian fans, who actually had a really hilarious. They love watching Americans make idiots of themselves trying to speak French. That's one of the favorite thing, one of the favorite things for a French speaker to do is that. So
No,
yeah,
I
it was a
appreciate
good
because
one.
I've had it in other podcasts as well. Where like they'll have like a good 2 to 5 minutes of a different language, and then also not put it in the transcripts where they'll just be
Right.
like, "Nope, you just got to figure out yourself. You don't know it." And it's like, well, thank you very much. But another thing that also that you have taken to do, I think, from season 2 onwards, as we mentioned, and you mentioned in the last hour, you put in terms of your Patreon as a reward, you put all the names on the end credits of the episode,
Yeah, the big list.
which
Yeah,
which has amassed, I think, from maybe the first few episodes was maybe like 20, 30 people that you had,
sure.
to now being what, over 200 or names or so.
It's about 1,500 names at this point.
Oh my god!
At the end of the episode. So what happened was, for those of you who don't know, all right, what happened was is that we instituted a thing, and a lot of shows do this. This was not a new thing. Okay, we just said if you sign up for this particular Patreon tier, we'll shout out your name at the end of every episode, right? So our thinking was, maybe we'll have 200 names one day, right? And people kept signing up, and they kept signing up, and they kept signing up, and they kept signing up, and it is now over a half an hour of me just reading names.
To say, even though season 4, I had to look at how long the episodes were, and then
Yeah,
when the episode ended, and then when you talk, I'd just be like, "Oh, that's the episode. How long is it now? Half an hour left. Oh my god!"
yeah, yeah. A
I mean,
half an hour
but even then,
of just me saying names.
but even then, like the patrons themselves have joked in. Isn't there one name called "Dear God"? There are so many names.
Yes, that is somebody's name. But people, because like they can change, because basically what we do is we use their Patreon username unless they request a different name, right? So people can change their name as many times as they want. And so it becomes this, it's really become, it's the new Vine. It's the new
Yeah,
Vine is the list at the end. Everyone has a few seconds to express themselves to the world, and they really go for it. And it's audacious. And look, honestly, I get complaints about it from people on the public feed saying I hate this list so much at the end of all your episodes. But this
I
is
mean,
the show.
I
I'm
don't mind
sorry.
because I mean, when you have like a group of them sort of made like a plot point out of it, like we have the nations
Right.
of these people of Tiffany go against each other. It's just like, okay, good to know you're having fun with this, but I have to listen to this whole damn thing. I mean, have you got have you must? I know you talk about, but you must have a favorite name, at least one where it's just like, this is so fun to say.
I don't know if I have a favorite. I mean, I'm trying to think of like everyone's doing a great job with their names. There is there I think someone decided that their name should be Hold It Now, Hit It. Okay.
Yes,
And from the classic, hip hop song, Hold It
hold
Now,
now,
Hold It
hold
Now, Hit It.
hit it.
But they wanted me to, they didn't want the clip from the song. They wanted me doing it. And so I had to like add a little echo to my voice. And so at the middle of all this is me saying, there's another one that's like, someone just said they want me to say dance break, and they wanted like 4 seconds of house music.
Oh yeah,
So there's that one.
I do. I mean, isn't it? I don't know if I got it right, but isn't there like a whole saga of Tiffany's or something in there as well? Bethany,
Bethany's,
that's it.
yes, which is the Bethany Wars. They call it the Bethany Wars. Someone, because what happened was is that someone signed up named Bethany, right? And
Yeah,
then someone else signed up named Bethany, and she decided her name would be Second Bethany,
yeah.
right?
And then third
And
Bethany, Bethany not so great, Bethany the
yes,
greatest.
and then someone signed up named Society of Bethanies, okay? And then Marsh Witch, who is another one of our subscribers, decided to start to wage war on the Bethanies in the list. And so that started. And so now you have some people taking the side of the Bethanies, other people taking side of the local Marsh Witch. And it's been going on for a very long time now, to the point where I don't even think it's like any war. Nobody knows what they're fighting about anymore. You know what I mean? They've lost it. The fog of war has descended on the Bethany War, I'm afraid.
Yeah, war. What is it all about?
Yeah. What
I mean,
is it all about?
Yeah.
You know,
In the name of Bethany, what do we do?
you're right. In the name of Bethany, what are we
There was,
doing?
I mean, because one of my not that no, one of my personal favorite names of that, just because I imagine so much you could do, is Damien the goddamn time lawyer,
Yeah,
which is one where I just keep thinking like that's a TV show name in itself of like just a random lawyer who just knows time travel and just goes back in time.
yeah, time traveling lawyer. That's right.
That's I would just
Yeah.
yeah, that just sounds fun. But has there been temptation to be like, can we just put these on like the Patreon only ones now so I don't have to say all these names, please?
Not. I mean, the list is love. It's a list of love, and it's kind of a hard thing to hate. And you just kind of say, you just have to say, look, this list is huge and ridiculous and audacious, and that's just, many things are in life, and you just kind of have to kind of embrace it, you know. And it does, I can imagine like if you're listening to the show in your car and the list starts up, it's kind of hard to skip to the next thing.
Yeah,
And I
yeah,
realize you may be trapped there for a minute listening to this list. But, people who hate on the list need to realize that that list, that huge list at the end, is the reason why the show exists.
yes, yes.
So
It
if
is.
you
It is
love,
everyone who's paid for it. They have put their name on
yeah.
it. They are the reason the show is alive.
So if you listen to if you love the show and hate the list, you're basically just like watching a movie you love and then booing the credits. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So the show is the list, the list is the show, and that's just it's bizarre, but that's just the way it goes, I'm afraid.
Yes. Like any creative out there normally says, never skip the credits until your name comes out. Then you can leave it.
That's right.
Yeah, I'm staying here until I see my name. There's my name. Let's go.
There's my name. Yeah, I'm out.
Uh, oh my god. So we no. So the diner does travel to a lot of dimensions. Is there a particular favorite
Right.
one that you were glad to sort of stop in for? Was there a particular favorite dimension to go to?
Um, my favorite dimension to go to. I don't
I mean,
know. Um,
I'll try
I
and
think,
find those if I can help.
you know, I think, well, I really love the world of, okay, so in the show, there's the triad, and the triad is essentially Milky Way, Andromeda, Triangulum, which for
Yes.
us is called the local group.
Mm.
And the triad is basically these three galaxies that are all connected with these warp gates.
Mm.
And I've really been, I really love, working in that environment, that sort of, and making that sort of kind of a microcosm for, a sort of analogy for the world that we live in, how it's
Mm.
so interconnected and so interconnected sometimes that it's gets dysfunctional, but at the same time, there's not much you can do about the dysfunction because it's all interconnected, and that
Mm.
idea. So that's a fun creation for me. I really like the planet of Cegius. There's a planet called Cegius, which is where the character Bert is from. Cegius is a
Oh
planet
yeah, that
of islands. It's all islands and mostly water.
yeah.
And I really like Cegius because Cegius is a planet that has achieved a sort of like utopia, right? Like it's very well run. They're doing a great job. It's very Scandinavian. It's, very like there's a lot of utopic sort of qualities to it. And I like talking about Cegius because also on Cegius, there's this idea that utopia is kind of boring and kind of a
Yeah.
grind and kind of, requires a lot of maintenance. And I like talking about that idea because, if there is ever sort of a utopic society here on Earth,
Mm.
it's going to kind of bore you a little bit. And there's going to be a lot of paperwork, but it's all going to be worth it, And I like talking about that idea that there's going to be a
No,
lot
I
of
do.
committees. It's going to be very frustrating,
Oh my
but
god, I
in
love
the
community.
end,
Oh.
everyone's going to be taken care of. And that's really great. So let's embrace the boringness of utopia, you
But
know?
I do sort of love that because going into that because I mean the triad is run by the Teds, which great name for the Teds. Was
Ted's.
is there a joke on TED Talk? Just like
No, no, that was literally just me thinking it would be hilarious if there was a race of aliens called the Teds. They're from a planet called Ted, and so they're all called Teds. That's great.
I just kept
That's
thinking, like,
funny.
who do you in your life do you know named Ted who is just an absolute bother? You decided I'm going to name an entire species after
No,
you.
in fact, I don't know if I know a Ted. You know, it's
Well,
just it was just it started off as just like that would be hilarious if that,
no,
and
it's a great.
also wouldn't it be hilarious if they had this ridiculous name and also were really kind of malevolent and you really didn't like them at all and they were kind of like an evil
Yeah,
empire that
but
everybody
like
hated.
kind of sneaky malevolent in the sense of like they're like, hey, congrats, welcome to the triad. Could you do this nice thing for us, please? And like we'll
Yeah,
give you other stuff as well. And then they just sort of like, oh, these are bad people. It's like, okay, good to
yeah.
know.
There's an insidious nature to it for sure. Yeah,
But I get back to my point. I do love the fact like of everyone in the triad, whether intention or not, you have sort of made Earth the funnest one to be around since like it's everyone in the triad thinks that, oh, look at these backward idiots, they're nothing special. But the fact that everyone watches them,
yeah,
most of the triad's languages are English or everyone are
right.
languages because everyone watches them. It's just being like Earth is in your universe like the only planet where it's just like they're not in the triad and are kind of cool with it. They're like, they don't need to be in it. They're fine.
Yeah, I mean that was, yeah, we did kind of set up Earth as like, yes, Earth is this kind of backwater kind of place in terms of the triad, but it does have this one special quality that everybody loves. Like nobody makes movies and television like Earth does.
Yeah.
And
You
like
made
for
it.
some
You made it
reason,
the focal point everyone wants to be.
yeah, everyone loves watching them, and everyone is like, we can't give them technological advances because then they'll be like us. It's great if they're like them and we get to watch it.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. Gossip, we do not want you to be like us. We suck. Be like you.
yeah,
You're good.
stay you.
No, I absolutely love
Yeah,
that because. Okay, so we're getting into the end of the show, but let's get so. But I have got some rapid fire questions just for I ask every creative.
rapid fire questions.
Don't worry, it'll be ones where it's just like
All right.
questions that seem impossible, but I just want to get it anyway. So we'll get into it. So,
Okay.
so let's get into this. Favorite character to write for?
Favorite character to write for? No, I'm not gonna pick one. They're all great. They're all
That's fair
great.
enough. That's fair enough.
Yeah.
Well, then, would you say who is the hardest one to write for?
Hardest one to write for is the Mucklewains.
The Mucklewains, really?
The Mucklewains are the hardest to write for because the Mucklewains talk in this sort of kind of like southern iambic pentameter kind of experience. There's an affected quality to the way that they express themselves, and it takes a lot more concentration for them to just say something very simple. So they're the ones like they can't just say, "Hey, what's up?" There has to be like a
Yeah.
whole thing involved. So yeah, they're the hardest to write for sure.
Just little something like, do they have like because they're the ones those two are also the ones that have to have the most sort of they have to do the most accents or most sort of different things because they have so many variants of their sports commentators one day. They're a guru show, they're a rock and roll show. It's just like
Right. Yeah.
have there been times where you've had the script to them, they're like, okay, who are we now this time?
Yeah, I mean I luckily I can just kind of throw anything at Neil and Julie and they'll usually, come up with something really hilarious, which is always
Yeah.
great.
Is there an explanation of why they are that they are and you're just not going to tell me, or have you just not thought of it yet?
We've explained it.
Okay, then I need it. And
I mean the explanation is a little vague. I'll say that, but we've explained it.
fair enough. My bad. But I do love them. They're so brilliant. They're so great.
It's great. I love
Okay,
them too.
moving on. Easiest episode to write.
Easiest episode to write. Easiest episode to write was, I think, News of the World when
Ooh,
they free Bert from being trapped by the Teds in season 2. I think that was the easiest one to write.
okay, I
I
remember that.
can't
Yeah,
quite remember though.
vaguely. Yeah, yeah.
Maybe it's because it's one of the shortest. I don't know.
I didn't need it right. Yeah, it was like
Yeah.
40 minutes. I was good. Okay.
It's funny though because like our longest episode is the Pyrofight, which is almost 3 hours long.
Oh, yeah.
But that one wasn't like difficult to write. It just took a really long time. Like I kept going into Finley's office and I would be like, "It's not ending. It just keeps going." And she's like,
It
"It's
just
fine.
keeps
Just keep
going
going."
on.
So I kept going. It wasn't hard to keep going. It had to keep going. So, but yeah, I think News of the World went the fastest, but I I can't quite remember.
And to interject, the hardest episode to write.
The hardest episode to write. The hardest episode to write. Well, let me see.
If it's not, you can do like a top three or something. Just
Going through the episodes in my head, the hardest episode to write was probably Stella Splendens. Was probably the hardest episode to write. Stella
remind what's that one?
Splendens is when we go back to medieval Jerusalem and
Oh,
and we like it
Clementine's
was
origin,
like
right?
Clementine's kind of origin story. I think that was the hardest one to write, mainly because um it was so different from what we had been doing, and making sure that everything worked and felt real, and also just really just making the choice to do something like that was really hard because I didn't know how people were going to react to it. But
Was it the fact that it
I
was
think that was it.
was it the fact that it was very self-contained? It was basically like it is just Jerusalem.
Yeah, well, the fact that it's self-contained, and also just the fact that it was the writing of it, like the writing of the dialogue was fairly easy and everything like that. But it was about the difficulty of just making the choice to do it,
Yeah,
because it was completely different from anything we'd done up to that point.
fair enough. Fair
Yeah.
enough. Okay. Favorite joke you've written?
A favorite joke I've written?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I'm surprised how
Uh,
this is always the hardest one. It's just like
that is the hardest one. It's
I
hard to
know.
choose. I think that, well, I mean, we were talking about the French sequence. I really do think the French sequence was one of the sort of the heights of the comedic moments of the show. Like it was really something else. And just, the just hearing the Mucklewains talk in French but in a Southern accent, was just something that was just truly inspired. I don't know. So maybe it was that,
It will not be my brain.
right? But again, it's like there's we were talking about it. It's like there's so much now to look back on. It's like now I have to pick one thing, and it's hard to because there's a lot of jokes in there that I'm pretty proud of. So it's hard to
I mean,
like think back to like there was this one, you know.
I appreciate that. When I mean, is there a moment? Is or several moments where it's just like nice to think back on it for any particular reason?
Well, I mean, looking at from a contemporary standpoint, like where we are right now, there's the last moment of the last episode of season 4. There's this monologue from Gloria, and the music that we found for it was really great. And there's just a point where she says, "Someday the fighting will stop,"
Yeah.
and that still sticks with me. Especially when you read the news.
Mm.
So to be able to just put that very clean statement out into the world, um, felt really good, and I still think about that.
I do like that as well.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't do it. I mean, in terms of favorite episodes for me, there are so many, and they're so tough. I mean, like, because even like the moment where I think it's like season 3. I'm talking about season 3 a lot. I mean, season 4 I also love, but like, well, season 4 when on they're on one of the Earths, and they're in Casper and Ava are in the diner, or not in the
Yeah,
diner, in a restaurant, and
in the restaurant.
Casper has to fake
A rich guy.
a rich guy to get in. His character development is amazing. It's just like he's just surprisingly good at improv. It's like, oh, okay, and like he just go like, I'm gonna fight you, Billy Joe. It's just like,
I'm gonna fight you, Billy Rose. Yeah.
yeah, that's it. It's just like that was just like, oh, that's so brilliant.
That is a good one.
Uh,
Yeah. So yeah, Billy Rose is definitely up there in terms of, yeah, the top 10 jokes for sure.
but also in terms of another serious moment, it's the moment where like, Clementine loses control and like the universe just like starts having car of the horizon coming
Yeah.
in every time. But also
Yeah.
the little side of the other joke is like where Leaf just like tries to sort of like get the parents to come in. He just gives up and just goes, "Oh, screw it! I'm just going to shoot you." I just it's
That's
very
right.
lethal. I love it.
He tases them both. Yeah, that's true.
Yes, it's just like, why'd
Yeah.
you do this? Like, I don't do this. This is your job.
Right.
But sign up the moment like Clementine's having to like work with that Ava goes into this deep dive of like this whole monologue of like imagine the universe as this.
Right.
Now imagine life, now imagine gases, now imagine that sort of thing where it's just like and the way you sort of go into like blanket silence and you just sort of like have the sound come back a bit more, and you have the volume of the episode, and then you just hear everything. It's like it's a moment of like 10 minutes of just thinking like, whoa, that was a lot of
Yeah.
just essentially recreating a universe, but okay, guess we're just here now, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I love that.
I absolutely love it. And hell, why not put it? You I'm not gonna let you do Next Generation, but favorite sci-fi show.
Favorite sci-fi show across the board.
Across the board. You can do Next Gen if you want, but I just bought because we talked about it. I just want to give it one a shot.
I think I guess when I think of like the most formative thing in my life, it probably is Next Generation. Yeah.
That's fair enough. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you agree with other people that maybe the first season is maybe a bit of a skip because it's them building into it?
Wait, because what?
There's a lot of talk, and I don't notice that much. That first season, there's a lot of episodes in season one that you should skip because it's just them trying to work things out. It's just like, nah, you can leave that one alone. We're fine, you know?
Well, I mean, I think any show is like that. I mean, I think there's a lot of shows that are really great shows, but the first season and a half, they're still trying to work some things out, you know?
Yeah.
But I mean, I still remember like sitting, crisscross applesauce on the floor in front of our really terrible television. And that moment when Farpoint Station turns into a giant space jellyfish in the first
Oh my
episode.
god.
In that moment, like I had never seen anything like that in my life. The idea that there could be gigantic organisms living in space, I was just like, it blew my tiny mind, you know? And so like when I think about like sci-fi shows that are like burned in my memory like that, that's one of those episodes for sure.
Which is absolutely fair enough and lovely. Has there been something where you wanted to do it, but logistically you're just like, I don't know how to do it, or I don't know how to put it in there?
There was one moment where, and really it wasn't about not knowing how to do it. It just about wasn't having the time to do it because we were trying to, like, because, we're constantly uh, in production. But in there's an episode in season 4 called Welcome to the Triad, which focuses completely on, the world of Bert and Verge and, young Leif. It's kind of a continuation of the young Leif storyline. And there's a point where Bert and Verge are hanging out a lot. I did want there to be a moment where they go into a karaoke bar and Bert gets up and sings a sort of Japanese punk song, but in an alien language. I
What?
wanted.
No, I just have to hear that. That's just like, what? Oh, God's
That was something that was just like, when I realized that, I was like, damn, that's just a bridge too far. We just don't have the time. I don't have someone to make the song. I don't have, so that was sadly something that I just had to, maybe it's out there somewhere. We can make it happen,
I
in some other
appreciate it
form.
even
But
you were just like, because that scene sounds fun and stuff, but I appreciate even you were just like, yeah, maybe that's a little bit too much.
yeah, I mean, yeah. Well, I mean, it would have been a great moment, but it literally was just about like time. It was a time problem, unfortunately.
No, but I love that. It's so fantastic. I mean, just because we've got 5 minutes left, just as talk about the music. Why the specific choice of that type of music? Because that is very odd to put in a sci-fi show music from basically a century ago.
Right. So there's a
No
lot of
one,
found audio from about a century ago. And that, it started because of, the character of Effie and Zebulon. They're a couple of Baptist ministers running a radio show in 1925. And so the music is of that era, and as it turns out, if you can find the right thing, it really does something about the juxtaposition of like huge sci-fi and, 100-year-old dying vinyl. The juxtaposition of those is really great for some reason, and I don't know why exactly. I guess it's
We
because it's
talked,
like it's this echo from a long time ago. I don't know.
I mean, we talked a little bit, but just for the listeners, where did you find that music?
Well, I mean, you can find it like the primarily where I find it is there's this thing called the Great 78 Project that they are basically finding 78 RPM records and making a digital file of these records, and then they're posting them on archive.org. So if you can find them on archive.org, the Great 78 Project, and it's just disc after disc after disc of just really, really old stuff. A lot of it sounds so bad that you can't use it, so you really have to like dig in, like
I
you're
mean,
a
did you have to
DJ.
do this? Did you have to deep dive through a lot of songs?
I always do. Yeah, you always have to like dive and dive and dive and dive and dive. First of all, to find something that's appropriate for the moment, and then find something that you is actually like you can actually listen to, because some of it is like you can barely hear the song. It's just mostly static. So it takes a lot of it takes a lot of quote unquote legwork, but it's really
Just because
fun
I
to like
imagine,
when you finally find something, it feels great.
just because I imagine fans must be keep coming up to you and be like, "I love the song. Where can I find it?" And you're going like, well,
Nowhere.
it ain't gonna be on Spotify. I'll tell you that."
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's not a lot of it's not on streaming. A lot of it you can't find out there because it is literally 100 years old.
Because I imagine even when looking at Reddit posts just to of fans, because I wanted to see what fans were doing, like in terms of top quotes, top music. One thread is, "Where's the music come from?" And I'll just go like, "It's from this guy." "Oh, great. Where do I find it?" "You won't." It's just
You
like,
won't.
yeah,
Yeah.
just you won't. So
Yeah. You, you will not be finding Carl Miles and the California Haylofters anywhere
I
on
mean,
Spotify, I'm
that
sorry.
name was so tough to find, but it's just like, I'm glad I know them now. Thanks to you.
Right.
Carl, rest in his peace. Of like, at least someone's playing his music.
That's right. Keeping it alive, right?
Uh,
It's a
well,
banger.
Joe, you have been a fantastic guest. I hope we deep diving into so much, learn about your life. I mean, you have been an absolute pleasure. So please let everyone know if they want to listen to Midnight Burger, and if after 2 hours listening to this and you still are skeptical of it, why are you listening to this? This is such a weird thing to just start till now. Just decided. Where can people go to listen to you?
All right. So the best thing to do is you can go to weopenat6.com, and that'll take you anywhere you want to go to listen to the show, or you can listen to the show right there on the website. But basically, Midnight Burger, you search for Midnight Burger in any podcasting app or on YouTube, and you can listen to all of the episodes there.
Yes, midnightburger.co.uk on our end, or Apple Podcast, Spotify. It's all on there no matter what. Um,
Yes.
yeah, and also you guys do have a Patreon. The Patreon is the only way that helps fund the
Yeah,
show.
if you would like to join the Patreon, you can go to patreon.com/midnightburger, and you can see we have a lot of other stuff on there. We have a deep dive of our own show called Shift Notes. We did audio drama school this past hiatus. We do all kinds of fun stuff on the Patreon. So there's a lot of extra stuff that people can check out there.
And Joe will not read your name out unless it's funny.
That's not true. It can be super
Okay,
boring, and I'll still read the name out. Yeah.
out. But you've been an absolute pleasure. So I mean, yeah. Hopefully in the future, if you do more live shows, you'll be able to listen to them a bit. We'll be able to curb them more that sort of way. But also, what the date? When is season 5 coming out?
Season 5 comes out on the public feed. Well, season 5 is out right now on the Patreon. It
On the
comes out
Patreon.
on the public feed on October 14th.
What is the first episode called?
The first episode is called The Builder.
Oh, damn, that sounds really fun. Well, guys, I hope you enjoyed this, and I wouldn't be a fan if I didn't at least try and end it in a good way. So, if time and tide roll do too harshly, or diurnal courses leave you with no safe haven, just remember, we're out there, somewhere, looking for you. We open at 6, or actually we end at 8 on our end, but still works. Joe, thank you so much, and remember next week I have a different guest coming on for you to listen to. So more people. We had the Media Project on the week before, where you can actually listen to the live stream of that on YouTube right now. This will also be on YouTube at some point within a week or two. Thank you so much, guys. We will see you out there. Oh my God.
Bye, everyone.
Of all the things to do, I quote Q from Star Trek. See you out there. Oh. See you guys.